I'm not usually one to give a shit about celebrity relationships and all that jazz, but I'd be lying if I said I wasn't invested in this whole Kanye versus Pete Davidson feud, this wild and wacky anime arc where they're fighting each other all over Kim Kardashian. It's like how there was that entire war fought over Helen of Troy, but in this case it's a cyber war where it's only fought with shit posts on Instagram. Like when Kanye had that music video where he like buries Pete Davidson alive or decapitates him or whatever, that shit had me giggling. This whole thing has been super silly, but like in the best possible way, to the point where I can't help but care about it. I'm like a middle school girl just glued to this gossip. And it really is the gift that keeps on giving. I can't help but feel like I'm being lied to and it's all fabricated because almost all of this shit always is, but it doesn't take away from the entertainment value, goddammit. As a spectator sport, it is still thrilling. Like even just yesterday, those text messages between Kanye and Pete Davidson that came out, where Pete Davidson was like, "Hey, let's meet man to man, you're being a pussy." Kanye replies saying, "Where are you right now?" And Pete says, "In bed with your wife," and then puts a cherry on top of the cake by sending a fucking selfie from like his belly button up to his nipples, and he's got like Kim's name scribbled on there in Sharpie, and he's sticking his tongue out and giving him the finger or whatever. It was one of those really awful angles. It looked like when Ricky Gervais used to post those pictures that looked like he was pushing his face through his own asshole. Like, it was so goofy and so entertaining. But the thing is, I can't help but feel bad for both of them because Kim Kardashian is just not worth all of that under any circumstances. I'm not a big Kim Kardashian fan, but I actually do like Pete Davidson and Kanye. I don't really like a lot of Kanye's new work. I think it's a little lackluster compared to his older shit, but I digress. I still do like Kanye as an artist, and I do like Pete Davidson's work outside of SNL. I think SNL is absolutely unbearably fucking awful, but Pete Davidson outside of that is a genuinely entertaining guy to listen to. But Kim Kardashian, I have nothing nice to say about her. So I feel bad that these two dudes are, going through this whole song and dance at the circus here over Kim Kardashian. And you know what? Dare I say it? I'm just not a fan of any of the Kardashians. That's it. I said it. It's a hot take, I know, but it needed to be said. I'm not a hero. I'm just letting my whole cock flop out here and hitting you with the truth. I don't like the Kardashians. So come hell or high water, I'm sticking to my guns and I'm letting that opinion be known in the public eye. I'm not a fan of the Kardashians. I don't think that's something that's ever been said before, so I think you should all appreciate my bravery in sharing that opinion with you. In fact, there's a clip that I keep thinking about that's playing in the back of my head rent-free like every day for the last week, where she just calls out women who don't want to work, even though she herself is the product of just being born lucky. She had a good spawn and just lucked out. She just got very fucking generous with RNG, and she has the audacity to shit on people saying that they don't have the drive to work anymore. I'll play the clip for you and we'll go over it a bit.
I have the best advice for women in business. Get your fucking ass up and work. It seems like nobody wants to work these days.
That's so true.
You have to surround yourself with people that want to work. Have a good work environment where everyone loves what they do because you have one life. No toxic work environments, and show up and do the work.
Pretty inspirational advice from someone who was literally born rich and their first major breakthrough in the public eye was with a sex tape leak. A very hard worker though, for sure, Kim. This is like that meme of how to draw an owl. Step 1, draw a circle. Step 2, draw the fucking owl. That is basically Kim Kardashian. Step 1, be born. Step 2, you're rich. It's fucking silly that she would have like the gall, the chutzpah, to say something like this totally unironically and just shameless. And then even more embarrassing is her sister who chimes in like agreeing with her, like, yep, that's true. And what is she wearing, by the way? I'm not exactly like a fashion icon myself, unless of course you're a huge white t-shirt enthusiast, but her outfit is actually just 2 Pokeballs over her titties. It looks like the Tron suit, but only for boobies. I know there's nothing brave or groundbreaking about saying you don't like the Kardashians or making fun of the Kardashians, but with this whole celebrity drama thing, it just does make me feel bad because it's 2 people that I do appreciate fighting over someone that I don't think deserves it at all. But at the end of the day, I'm not their dad. I have no say in their relationship nor how they handle it. I'm just that creepy weirdo huffing down Cliff Bars in the corner, enjoying the show with a smile on my face. And yeah, I just wanted to talk about this a bit because this whole Pete Davidson Kanye shit has just been super interesting to me full of so many wild and wacky moments. So yeah, that's really about it. So yeah. Yesterday I posted a video showcasing my journey to pole dancing godhood. In this video you can see the genesis of a legend and the birth of a prodigy. But with this birth there's no amniotic fluid, just crusty dollar bills. And now I've truly ascended. I've purchased a stripper pole for my own house in order to practice forbidden jutsu, and I've come up with remarkable maneuvers. But in posting that video yesterday, I learned something. I'm not considered the cream supreme of pole dancing on YouTube. That title belongs to two men, Markiplier and JackSepticEye. So obviously I'm not going to take this shit lying down. I challenge you, Markiplier and JackSepticEye, to face me in the pole dancing Thunderdome. Do you have what it takes? Are you man enough to spread your cheeks on the stripper pole? 'Cause I know I am. Let me introduce you to my signature move, the spinning goatsy.
Here, hold on, I'm gonna spin you.
Oh, my ankle, hold on.
Come on. The spinning goatee.
Spin, give me like a big, oh my god, I'm moving.
Oh yeah, you're moving by yourself. On a real pole, you'd be going 100 miles per hour right now.
Yeah, give me a bigger spin.
All right, I'm gonna get you a few twists. Ooh, nice.
Make sure to really get it on my ass.
Wow.
Oh, I'm so dizzy. You tinkle in your britches a little bit? Yeah, I don't blame you. I'd be afraid too. I'm Leonardo da Vinci, and the pole is my canvas. I can do things on it that most human beings can't even imagine, and I'm ready for war. I'm 15 hungry crocodiles, and I'm ready to eat some ass. Are you? What's going on, drama enthusiast? It's me again, Dr. Deep Throat, here to swallow the entire load of drama this week because this shit has been hot. Not just with YouTubers arguing with each other and being upset, but also there's been some signs of war in the chess community that I've been paying very close attention to. It's been wild. But for this video, I'm going to focus on H3H3 and Keem drama because that is the one that most people are dedicating their lives to at the moment, literally putting their lives on the line, ready to lay it all down for the sake of defending their YouTubers. It's been pretty extreme. I mean, you could go to the best steakhouse in the world and not find beef like this. This is some USDA prime internet beef. And 2 days ago, I made a video talking about it and joking about it, mainly just giving my perspective on what could happen in terms of why it could be dangerous for the platform. And since then, my shit has been twisted more times than cotton candy being made. I don't know if maybe I didn't frame what I was saying correctly, or if people are just blatantly trying to twist what I was saying, but I figured I should at least defend myself and explain it a little bit better, especially following Ethan's nuclear fallout video. To start off, it's not like Ethan and I are on bad terms. There's no bad blood between us. We've talked in DMs. He even agrees with my main point. And we're not like enemies or anything at all. I feel like on the internet, as soon as someone disagrees with someone else, the internet's perception is they have to hate each other. And even other YouTubers feel that way. But for most adults, you can disagree with someone. Not every friend that you're going to have is going to be a sycophant that's just going to be a yes man and agree with everything. So it's not like Ethan crossed his arms and was pouting like, Charlie, we were friends until you had a different opinion than I did. That's not how it happened. He was understanding and, like I said, agreed with my main point. I'll explain my main point again. My main point was never we shouldn't hold people accountable and sponsors are some sacred, untouchable thing. My point is, by making it a common thing, it hurts everyone on the internet, not just with sponsors, but anything. And not to hit you with the old wiggle finger and an I told you so, but within the last 3 days since the first content nuke, Keem has lost the G Fuel sponsorship, which you well know, but Ethan's also lost his Old Spice sponsorship, mainly because people in Keemstar's fanbase on Twitter spearheaded this attack on Ethan's sponsors, and Old Spice caved almost immediately, and that was fueled because Keemstar would constantly retweet them saying, please don't do this. And once that genie's out of the bottle, everyone's gonna hop in. You can't just put that shit back in, you can't just put a cork in that wiener hole and get the genie back in there. Now that people know it's effective, they keep doing it. So Keem retweeting, don't do this. I didn't condone attacking his sponsors, as he's retweeting the person who's organizing it, attacking Ethan's sponsors. Well, it led to more people attacking his sponsors, and Ethan lost Old Spice. It also happened to another YouTuber named Gundam, where a popular streamer named Pokimane mentioned his sponsor, and a lot of her people attacked his sponsor, and he lost his sponsor deal there. So it is becoming something of an epidemic. Something that I said is bad for the whole platform and not just with sponsors. It's something anyone on the internet can do, and it's something that's happening right now. There's a massive thread on 4chan that's constantly growing with people targeting big YouTubers and targeting their ads. It's basically a fucking hit list, the main three being Philip DeFranco, iDubbbz, and H3, and they're trying to prove how much power the people have over these YouTubers they don't like's lives. And that's the point I was making in my initial video. When you show this group of people, these bad actors, how much power they can have by just getting enough of them together to go to an advertiser for someone they don't like, it's a disaster for everyone on the internet, because it's not just sponsors. They can do it to Patreon, they can do it to PayPal or AdSense, they can do it anywhere. All it takes is enough people with this same narrative, like this guy is a bad person, to have them dropped. I couldn't decide if even talking about this was the right move, since, as a couple other people pointed out, even mentioning it leads way to a few assholes doing it just for shits and giggles, but ultimately I feel like most people are justifying how it happened because it was Keemstar, and then some people don't like Ethan, so they justified it against Ethan. But I think it's just overwhelmingly negative no matter what, because even if you're using it against people you don't like right now, it sets the precedent where anyone can use it against anybody, and it just becomes a very common tool that eventually leads to a lot of innocent people being hurt. So I felt it was important to at least make people aware of just how dangerous it is to go down this path. Now, maybe I didn't frame this argument correctly in my initial video and my point wasn't clear, because a lot of people seem to think that I was just absolving Keemstar of his sins, just throwing, holy water and blessing him with a pass because he didn't attack sponsors like Ethan. Like, yeah, Keemstar can be an asshole, but this is what Ethan did, as if I was just excusing everything Keemstar did that was bad, which I wasn't doing. I was just highlighting what I thought was a bad thing that came from this situation. And ultimately what ended up happening is Keemstar, it turns out, was also attacking sponsors well before anyone else. In Ethan's follow-up video, he pointed that out. Then of course people were acting like I was supposed to be omniscient and know everything about Keemstar's past, from his fucking SAT scores to the first time he went trick-or-treating as a child. I just didn't know that until Ethan pointed it out. I didn't leave it out on purpose. So yes, Keemstar was attacking sponsors well before any of this happened, and just because he was first doesn't mean that it's okay to do it now. It doesn't make it right. It's still bad. It's bad that Keemstar did it, it's fucked up, and it's fucked up that it's happening now. Now, Ethan himself is not on the side of attacking sponsors, as he makes clear in the follow-up video he makes, and honestly at this point, I get the impression Ethan didn't even mean to start something like this. I think maybe he was just making jokes about G Fuel just for some jabs at Keemstar for fun that kind of got out of control, and especially on a subreddit getting out of control as well, taking it to extremes that now 4chan is taking to, and Twitter as well. There was a dude on Twitter that admitted to committing a fucking crime. After Ethan was dropped by Old Spice, there was a vigilante who took down Old Spice and was holding the website hostage until they made a public statement bringing Ethan back. So shit's just getting out of control, which is exactly what I was saying I was worried about happening. That was the precedent I was worried about. In fact, it's gone worse than I thought. I thought it was always going to have to be a YouTuber coordinating it. But what's happening is just Discord groups of people on 4chan, and just groups of people on Twitter are coordinating with each other to attack the brands of YouTubers that they don't like. And from what I've seen, and I've seen quite a few screenshots of this going on, they're not even presenting evidence. They're just saying nasty things about the YouTuber and saying why it's hurting their brand. And it's working. As we just saw with Ethan, they weren't even presenting any evidence, they were just saying bad things, and they dropped them. Because the companies aren't looking at evidence. They don't have like a department of drama super sleuths that are going to go through every video to make sure it's legitimate proof that this person is bad. They're just getting an influx of these really heinous emails saying that the person they're sponsoring is bad, and they're just dropping them on the spot because to them, it's safer that way. And that's why it is such a big problem. It is something that can happen to people that don't deserve it. Innocent people that maybe just a group of people don't like their content. To defend myself, a lot of people said I only cared about my own sponsors. Like, oh, I see where Charlie's priorities lie. All he cares about is his own sponsor money, which I think is super fucked up because I don't use sponsors. The only things that I ever have sponsors on are the Moist Meter and the podcast. All of my personal content I don't have sponsors for, and the reason I have sponsors for the other two is because those are my friends. That's a whole team putting those productions together. That's supporting multiple people. The majority of my income comes from Twitch, from streaming on Twitch and the generosity of the community. And I mean, I fucking make videos with dildo trick shots, which occasionally Adam and Eve ask if they can sponsor, and I say yes to that, but that's the only piece of personal content I ever have a sponsor on. So it's not like I have a horse in this race where I'm trying to protect my own group of sponsors. It's simply I'm worried about what happens in the future on YouTube, because if this continues to be the norm, Companies are just going to stop sponsoring these channels, and a lot of channels that I like to watch are high production channels that need someone like a sponsor to pay for the production costs to put on. But if these companies start to learn like shit, no matter who we sponsor on YouTube, we're still getting a little PR nightmare on Twitter, it's not worth it. They're just not going to sponsor those people or sponsor this platform anymore on an individual level. So that's why I was talking about it. I also can't believe I even have to say this, but obviously the tactic as a whole isn't some brand new genius creation of going after sponsors. It's something that's been done for a long time, just not on a YouTuber personal level. This was, well, with Keemstar apparently being first, this was the first time we've seen it being this effective and now this widespread. That's what I was saying. While as an idea, it's not the most, genius thing ever, it doesn't take some supervillain mastermind to come up with the idea of, wait, what if I just said some mean shit about this guy to a sponsor? Like, that doesn't take the smartest person in the world to think of that. That's not new. But seeing it actually employed on a YouTuber individual level is something that is new, and now seems to be something very effective that's spiraling out of control, where it's not YouTubers doing it, now it's just people even unassociated with both groups doing it just to fuck people up. That's what I'm saying is new. And to get even bigger brain scheme here, to see even into a deeper dystopian future, I'll go ahead and speculate. A lot of these people are younger. I'm going to go out on a limb and say the majority of people doing this and reporting this acting like some kind of fucking Batman of the internet, I'd say they're like 15, 16 years old. These are young people. As they get older and they see that what they're doing has a huge effect on people's lives, they might employ this tactic outside of the internet into the real world where, maybe they have a disagreement with someone on the internet and they take it to their actual job and they get that person to have ramifications for something they just disagreed with on the internet. And we've seen that from, like I said, middle-aged Karens reporting Twitter people to their employer and getting them fired. So if we're teaching people that are this young that this kind of shit is effective at hurting someone you don't like, they might take that even further, even outside of the internet. That's very speculative and very well could not happen, but like I said, this can have far-reaching consequences like that because these are people that are still learning, they're still developing. These are young minds that are forming, they're like a sponge absorbing all kinds of shitty internet memes and ideas. So if they're learning that, hey, this person I don't like is getting fucked because of this, I'm going to start using this on other people I don't like. It could be bad, even outside of just internet shit. And that's what I wanted to talk about, why it is so bad if you go after people's sponsors or just general livelihood, because it's a very slippery slope. And I know a lot of people hate that term, but it really fucking is, because these companies aren't looking at evidence. They're looking at numbers. These companies aren't like, shit, we have to keep up with the latest drama with our clients. All right, let's get the HR department on this. Look at all these 9 exposed videos. We have to make sure they're legitimate. That's not what they're doing. What they're doing is they're looking at, holy shit, look at all of these emails telling us that this person is bad. Must be bad, we're dropping them. It is not worth the disaster we're having here. They're just looking at numbers. There's a lot of complaints. They're saying, fuck it, not worth it. They're gone. That's how it's working, and that's why it's bad, because it doesn't even need to be a bad person. Anyone can coordinate that shit, and it leads to a disaster. That's the point I was making. Alright, that's about it. See ya. You couldn't even begin to imagine how wacky my day's been. I've spent so long researching one of the most useless topics I've ever invested time into. Celebrity drama, but more specifically, Harry Styles and whether or not he actually spit on Chris Pine. I swear to God, I spent more time studying this phenomenon than I did studying for the SATs back in high school. I don't even know why I've been so captivated by it, but I've truly just been drawn into it, and it's not letting me go. It's just strangling me by the neck like Homer Simpson on Bart. I just cannot get a conclusive answer as to whether or not he actually spit on Chris Pine. Let me go ahead and bring all of you up to speed. Harry Styles and Chris Pine are in a movie coming up called Don't Worry Darling, which has a ton of controversy surrounding it with Olivia Wilde and pretty much the entire cast. But I'm not here to focus on that. I'm here to get to the brass tacks, the really important stuff, the conspiracy side. Whether or not Harry Styles spit on Chris Pine at one of their premiere things yesterday. I showed the clip on stream and gave my take on it. I thought it was pretty obvious that he hawked a loogie on him, just treated him like a fucking human spittoon. This is the video that kicked off everything. This is the patient zero of the conspiracy. As you can see, it looked like Harry Styles spit on Chris's lap, and Chris responds with bewilderment and a bit of shock. My initial response to seeing that clip was, wow, this unhinged goofball just spit on Chris Pine for some reason. And that was the end of it. This whole movie has had a really super silly history to it. In fact, the same day Harry Styles did an interview, and when he was asked what his favorite thing about the movie was, his response was, I shit you not, this is verbatim, his response was, I think, my favorite thing about the movie is that it feels like a movie. And then he continued saying, it feels like a real, like, go to the theater film movie. The reason why you go to watch something on the big screen. Now, I can't play the interview clip, so I just had to read the transcript here. The interview's obviously copyrighted. But when you listen to it, it sounds like Harry Styles has been fucking lobotomized. Like, it sounds like he's delivering this answer after he's been hit by a tranquilizer dart and he's about to pass out. I've never listened to him talk. I've seen him in a couple movies and he's always been okay. I don't really have any strong opinions on him. But listening to him speak unscripted is painful. It actually just feels like I wandered into like the most decrepit bar and I'm listening to a drunk man tell stories. It was bad. But anyway, after seeing the spit clip on stream, I said, yeah, it looks like he just spit on him, no questions asked. I washed my hands of it and that was that. I thought nothing more of it. But then it got posted on my second channel, and on Twitter, they weren't super happy. I got a couple tweets talking about how disappointed they are that I called Harry Styles yucky because of the spit clip, but one in particular stood out to me. One of them said, not moist critical calling Harry Styles yucky for a fake spitting clip. And I sat there scratching my head. I said, you buffoon, you fucking imbecile, what do you mean, fake spit? Well, what is fake spit? Like a prop from Party City? Was the saliva acting? Was Chris in on it and the spit wasn't aggressive or disrespectful? It was a publicity stunt? Like, what do you mean fake spitting incident? Like, I couldn't wrap my head around it because I thought this was a pretty open and shut case because it really does look like Harry Styles purses his lips, fucking lets Loogie rip, and Chris Pine responds by looking down where he was spitting, and he's pretty disgusted or confused by it. So it all seemed to check all the boxes of being legitimately being spit on. I didn't know there was any debate. But even still, I wanted to go a bit further to see, like, is this like a conspiracy? Have I bought into propaganda? Have I been faked out? Was it actually a magic trick? I didn't get it. But Harry Styles fans, whatever they call themselves, stylers, I have no idea, they were adamant that this was fake, manufactured drama and not real. So I dug a bit deeper, and I found an alternate angle, which I also pulled up on stream, that further confirmed my suspicion that this was real spit. I'll go ahead and play that for you. So here we can see the event through a different lens. We got a totally different vantage point here, and I think this one's even clearer because I really feel like I can see spit travel. So then I did what any sensible man would do and slowed down the clip significantly, and I'm not too sure. Like, now I really don't know if it's spit, because there I didn't feel like I could see it as well. When played at full speed, I am convinced that I can see the spit. I see like a little flash leave Harry Styles' mouth and land on Chris Pine's lap. But I don't know anymore if it's my mind playing tricks on me. It's got me questioning everything I thought I knew about the universe, honestly. Because when I slow down the clip, I can no longer see that flash. Unless, of course, Harry Styles can spit faster than the speed of light, which, it is a possibility, I suppose. But what makes this even more confusing is the statement that came out, like the official statement to explain this away, did nothing to squash this conspiracy. Because if it's not spit, then why did Chris Pine react that way immediately after the spit would have landed on him? Like nothing really checks out, but here's the official explanation. This is a ridiculous story, a complete fabrication, and the result of an odd online illusion that is clearly deceiving and allows for foolish speculation, Pine's rep said in a statement to Variety. Just to be clear, Harry Styles did not spit on Chris Pine. There is nothing but respect between these two men, and any suggestion otherwise is a blatant attempt to create drama that simply does not exist. This is a dog shit response. I'll just go ahead and give Chris Pine's rep a little free advice. In order to actually squash these rumors, you needed to explain what happened. Because clearly something happened. Chris responded to something. There was some stimulus there that Chris looked down and then had like a confused moment there, So you needed to explain it, which you didn't. You just called everyone fucking stupid, basically. This is ridiculous and it's an illusion. Even though it's not an illusion, like it's a video we can all see, and it's a little fishy that Harry Styles does something weird with his mouth and Chris Pine responds to it. You didn't explain anything. You just said, you guys are wrong. Source, trust me, bro. Like, that's it. That's not super helpful here. But luckily, Chris Pine's rep might not be smart enough to explain it, but I saw a couple of theories on Twitter that I'm starting to believe as well. So the leading theory and the explanation I'm starting to subscribe to is that Chris Pine was wondering where his sunglasses went, and when he noticed they were sitting on his lap, he was a little embarrassed and felt silly, which is why he gave that response. And that's a mistake we've all made, like we're looking for something that's right in front of us, or we're looking for something that we're holding. You know, like sometimes I've made the mistake of trying to find my phone, and I'll turn the flashlight on my phone while looking for it, and then I feel like such a fucking idiot when I realize, oh, it's in my hand. And then, you know, you have that eureka moment where you feel stupid and you have like that kind of response. And that does actually kind of explain it away, because Chris does grab his sunglasses after noticing them, and he does give that like, oh, I'm so forgetful kind of look, that kind of shit. So maybe it's a case of just perfect timing where Harry Styles did some goofy shit with his mouth that looks like he's spitting, and at the same time, Chris Pine just happened to have noticed the sunglasses he was trying to locate were sitting right in his lap, so he's like, ugh. You know, like, oh, I found them. They were right there. I'm so dumb. That kind of shit. But I'm not 100% certain either way. I've spent so much time rewatching these clips. It's fucking crazy. And I still can't fully decide which I believe. I think it's most likely that he didn't spit on him and it's just his reaction to finding the sunglasses he was looking for. But I also don't think it's impossible that he truly did just spit on Chris. There's been so much drama on this movie. Like, I wouldn't be shocked to learn that these two have animosity between them and he just spit on him just to fucking assert dominance and disrespect him publicly. I think both are equally likely, though I lean a little more towards it just being the sunglass thing. But anyway, just wanted to talk about it since I spent so much time researching it. That's about it. See ya. It's no secret that journalism isn't as respected as it once was. It certainly doesn't have the pedigree that it used to. Most people find journalist to be synonymous with clown, and it's really not hard to see why in a lot of cases when even today you have major publications like the Wall Street Journal in particular, who I'm going to name and shame real quick, who are writing goofy dogshit articles that are just blatantly wrong and misleading about Sam Bankman-Fried. Sam Bankman-Fried was the head of FTX, the cryptocurrency empire with billions upon billions of dollars in it that collapsed overnight and is a blatant case of fraud. But for some reason, Wall Street Journal and other publications, but Wall Street Journal in particular, has been playing this game of hide Sam's cock in their mouth, and they've been writing articles, like, refusing to admit that it was fraud, and making all kinds of weird excuses for it, like, oh, the reason FTX failed was actually because supporters lost confidence in Sam Bankman-Fried, or Sam Bankman-Fried was the world's most generous billionaire who had plans to save the world and now he can't since his empire collapsed. Playing the world's smallest violin for a fucking criminal, a fraud. It's so weird. And it's things like that that give journalism as a whole a very negative reputation. I know I've already spent quite a bit of time talking about this, but it's just infuriating. Oh, no, he's not a fraud. It's because he was too nice and too smart. We didn't see the vision, so it's actually our fault. You know, Sam Bankman-Fried's a goddamn angel. It's fucking sickening. And it leads to this stigma around journalism. But there are great journalists out there, and the one I want to talk about today is a journalist who is legitimately putting his life on the line in order to deliver extremely important stories to the public. And he's actually a YouTuber. His name is Friendly Jordies. He's a comedian who has, for the last couple of years, been very much delivering some of the hardest hitting journalism in all of Australia. And the price he's paid for this is a huge one. He's been threatened more times than Bugs Bunny by Elmer Fudd. He is constantly getting threats from powerful people. He's been sued. Even very recently, he was involved in a defamation case that resulted in Google, YouTube having to pay $715,000 over this defamation case. He was labeled racist or abusive for a series of videos he made talking about a person in power. He's done so many stories about corruption at even the highest level, and most recently, the scariest thing has happened to him. His life was put in jeopardy. His house was firebombed. He made a video going over the situation, but it's also been reported by so many Australian news outlets as well. The situation is as follows. His neighbor's house was firebombed on the 17th of November. It was luckily put out pretty quickly, and then shortly after that, his house was firebombed, and a lot of it was damaged, obviously. Now, this appears to be a deliberate attack, The fact that his neighbors got firebombed and then he did makes it seem like they originally went for him to begin with, but were too fucking stupid to figure out which one was his residence, so they gambled on a 50-50 and lost. Kind of like when you gamble on a fart and shit your pants, but then they came back and tried to finish the job. It's fucking terrifying stuff. I'm going to play you a bit of his interview with the media here when they were waiting for him outside of his house.
I would hope that the New South Wales strike force that is supposedly set up for fixated people and terrorists would be looking into this instead of a comedian and his team for 6 months straight at the whim of a previous premier that all of you defended for his last 10 years, and then when he came out, and even after all the New York stuff, you're still sitting there defending him now. I saw all of your articles today where you all wrote all of the same little narrative that you write every time. I would hope that you would put just as much attention on the fact that that happened as you have on trying to assassinate my character over the last year. Thanks for your time.
Did something happen here a week ago, Jordan?
Now, his real name is Jordan, and even in the face of his life being threatened, he still rolls up calm and collected like Kratos, keeping his slapping hand primed and ready for these media cheeks. And it's not like his anger is misplaced. He has had very less than favorable articles written about him with a lot of labels attached to that, which I don't think are deserved when the entire purpose of Jordy's content recently has been exposing corruption at the highest level, which is an extremely important thing to be doing, where I feel he should be rewarded instead of vilified. But, you know, that's just me. I don't live in Australia here, but he has been treated very poorly by the people that are now standing outside of his home, showing no empathy at all. No sympathy at all, just trying to circle around like vultures on roadkill to get their scoop for their clicks. And he rightfully is upset at them and points out a bit of the hypocrisy surrounding it. I'd also like to add a bit of context surrounding Jordy's statement about the fixated people and terrorists statement he made in that clip. Well, it's because one of his producers was arrested by the unit that's supposed to be monitoring and stopping, like, terrorists, I guess. It's the Fixated Persons Unit. His producer was arrested for stalking. What a remarkable joke. It would almost be laughable if it wasn't so goddamn scary. He was arrested for stalking and intimidating when doing their reporting on the person that they were talking about. By the goddamn department that's supposed to be about, like, you know, threats, like terrorist threats, like holy shit. That is mind-blowing. So Jordy's really does have every right to, of course, be upset. And obviously after his house being firebombed like this, it's a fucking terrifying situation. He does very deep reporting. He exposes a lot of corruption, and I feel like he's probably one of the hardest hitting journalists Australia has at the moment that I'm aware of. He's celebrated by a lot of Australians as well for all of his reporting, and now his life is in danger, and it's hard to say who's responsible for the attack. He mentions in the same clip that because he's been doing reporting on, you know, a lot of corruption at a very high level, it's hard to say who actually may have carried out the attack.
Obviously, we've done some extremely dangerous reporting over the last year, I suppose, of a bunch of extremely powerful people and corporations. There is many people that would want to do that. I obviously can't say who I suspect it is, but I do have like a short list in my head of who I think would have done it.
What a fucking horrifying situation for anyone to be in, and yet somehow Jordy's maintains a very composed demeanor. He continues joking throughout the rest of the video, even joking about the situation, and somehow staying, like, calm and collected, which is fucking baffling. The man is just built different. He's got tungsten throughout his body. It's fucking wild. Now, it doesn't matter how you feel about political opinions or whatever. I think everyone should be able to agree that his house being firebombed is outrageous. That's a huge problem, and it should result in a very thorough investigation that leads to people being arrested for this act. I think everyone should agree with that. But yeah, I want to mention that Jordy's also does have a Patreon if you want to directly support his content beyond just watching the videos. I'll go ahead and link that in the description below. And yeah, I think this is just terrible that it happened, and hoping for his safety in the future, and hoping they catch whoever was responsible for the firebomb attack. That's about it. See ya. I know I haven't made a video on the Mick Gordon and Doom Eternal soundtrack drama that's been cooking for the last week, and the reason is I wanted to wait to see how Bethesda would clap back, and today they've given a response, and it is weak. They dropped a wet sock on us. Now, while overall the appetizer they served up was underwhelming, and we'll get into it in a moment, they did, however, make a threat of having something substantial to back up their side of this drama, but they haven't revealed that yet, so for now it's just kind of empty. But who knows, maybe pretty soon in the future they'll come with something stronger after boofing creatine and taking HGH, but as it stands right now, this response from them I think is less than satisfactory. So let's go into the whole situation here from the start, because it's pretty wacky and it's pretty sad. Hopefully all of you are familiar with Mick Gordon. He's one of the most well-respected and most talented video game composers of our time. You might know his work from Killer Instinct, Doom most likely. I absolutely love his work. I always compare him to like Hans Zimmer in the way that if his name is attached to a project, you know that that soundtrack is going to be slapping. And of course, Mick was brought back on board by id Software to be the composer for Doom Eternal. Fans were pumping their fists, sodden, sopping panties, everyone was excited, and it all seemed fine until the Doom Eternal OST released. The original soundtrack. So the OST is different than the game scoring, and when the OST came out, everyone was surprised that it just really wasn't good. Like, it wasn't well made, it was sloppy, and Mick Gordon's got no blemishes on his report card. This is a straight A student. His whole resume is nothing but hits. He's never had a miss, until Doom Eternal's OST. Most people were criticizing it heavily, and then out of nowhere, Marty Stratton of id Software dropped a Reddit post that blamed Mick Gordon for why the OST wasn't great. And this Reddit post came out of absolutely fucking nowhere, like a jump scare, and it pins the entirety of the blame on Mick Gordon, makes it seem like he's hard to work with, lazy, doesn't do what he's supposed to do, and this is the accepted perception of Mick Gordon for 2 years. 2 years ago, Marty Stratton dropped this, and for 2 years, people believed it, which of course had a wildly detrimental impact upon the reputation of Mick Gordon. Most people used him as an example for talented people who were lazy, and that's just the way people perceived Mick Gordon from that point forward, and he never came forward to defend himself until last week. Last week, Mick Gordon came with an over 14,000 word thesis, a fucking Harry Potter book worth of evidence to disprove that, saying that that Reddit post was misleading, factually incorrect, and downright fucking wrong. I'm not exaggerating the scope of this. This report here, it's not a twit longer. This is a goddamn twit novel. Like, it has its own table of contents, and he has printed more receipts than a Walmart. Mick Gordon came with an overwhelming amount of evidence to prove his side of the story, and it highlights a lot of fucked up things in here about what happened behind the scenes. There's so many layers to this onion, it'd make Shrek shit himself. It's wild. And it really seems like Marty Stratton has a personal grudge against Mick for some reason. I don't understand why, but it really feels like Marty fucking hates him. I don't know if Mick Gordon fucked Marty's wife or something, but my god, it really sounds like Marty was twirling his evil mustache here in order to make Mick's life miserable with this project. Let me show you just a quick excerpt there before getting into the deeper stuff. So this is in regards to that Reddit post. So the OST, it was a poor quality release which drew criticism. Marty asked Mick for assistance, and they eventually came up with a couple of ideas. So he offered to draft a joint statement addressing the situation and announcing plans moving forward, and requested that Mick hold off on making further public comments until they could address it together. And Marty then told Mick to expect the draft within a few hours, but it never arrived. Instead, what arrived was a fucking tank of dog shit. Instead, days later, Marty put on the fedora and wrote his infamous open letter Reddit post, which blamed Mick for everything, with the botched OST. So that's the level of respect Marty has for Mick. And that's really just the beginning. Get ready to have your heart broken here. Awards. I'm happy to hear Marty feels I deserve Doom's music awards, because the truth is those trophies are kept locked in the id Software office. I've only ever seen them once, behind glass, from a distance. Nobody has ever offered to send me copies, and thanks to the show's producers, I was invited to perform at the Game Awards, but other than that, id Software never invited me to collect the awards in person. Marty invited himself to collect the awards on my behalf instead. It would mean a lot to have a memento of all the hard work I poured into Doom franchise, but as it currently stands, doubt I'll ever see those awards again. So Marty, being the saint that he is, didn't invite Mick to claim his own awards and instead invited himself to claim the awards on Mick's behalf and then never sent him the trophies. I don't know why he hates him so much. I don't get it. Now, before diving deeper into the bowels of this filthy colon, let's go ahead and go through some of the summary of facts that Mick Gordon provides here. So he still hasn't been paid for over half of Doom Eternal's music, which is fucking criminal. That is a massive, massive problem that he has still not been fully paid for his work. The Doom Eternal OST was announced with his name attached and made available for pre-order before Mick was even contracted to produce it. And despite Mick's alarm and constant appeals, Marty refused to do anything about it, which led to a 9-month delay. And after 7 months of inaction, he reported his concerns to Bethesda, and Bethesda and him negotiated the Doom Eternal OST directly without Marty's involvement, and he received the contract for this just 48 hours before Doom Eternal was released. The delay was announced a week earlier before he was under contract, and the deadline was 29 days later. This is really only the tip of the iceberg. Things were just filthy with id Software and Bethesda and how they treated Mick. One thing that I think is very important to note is they attempted to bribe him into silence. According to Mick, they allegedly offered 6 figures in order for him to not come forward with his account of this situation. So one of the reasons it took him so long to come forward with all this, not only because of the length of it and how in-depth he went, obviously that takes a lot of time to get all of those ducks in a row, but another reason that there was such a long period between that Reddit post and this, 2 years, is because they kept trying to legally scare him and intimidate him. So there were lawyers involved that would constantly just kick the ball down the field, hoping to keep putting this off, because they knew Ragnarok was coming. They knew Mick Gordon wasn't going to stay silent. He didn't accept the bribe, so all they could really do is try and stall for as long as possible. And that's just one of the reasons that it took so long for him to come forward. They tried to legally strong-arm him and bribe him into not coming forward, which clearly didn't work, and I'm glad Mick Gordon's coming forward because this is a really valuable look into some super shady shit that I'm sure isn't the only time it's happened in the industry. So Mick Gordon calling attention to it and highlighting it, breaking it down, I think is beyond valuable. And it's so great to see Mick Gordon come forward with an attempt to clear his name. And I think this is perhaps the best defense I've ever seen on the internet. This is like a professional S-tier rebuttal. Like, it's actually wild how much evidence that Mick presents here to disprove everything Marty was claiming. When you look at Marty's post in comparison to this, it's laughable. It's written by a clown. There is no evidence to support any of Marty's claims. Meanwhile, Mick Gordon has 14,000 words full of receipts to support his side of this whole thing. Now, you might be asking, how did the OST end up so bad? Well, it's because Marty and id Software passed it off to Chad Mossholder, who was an in-house audio engineer for the team, and Chad Mossholder took it on and produced less than stellar work. Now, I'm not here to critique Chad Mossholder's talent, and from the quality of the OST, I'm pretty sure he didn't put his best foot forward here. I'm imagining that he only worked on this OST while blackout drunk and pissing his pants and forgetting who he was, because it is so sloppily made. It is amateurish. I refuse to believe a high-level audio engineer actually worked on this in any meaningful capacity. This may have been Chad Mossholder passing this off to an intern so he didn't have to. I don't know. But it is terrible. Like, from an actual quality standpoint, it is awful. It wasn't Mick Gordon who produced this bad OST. It was the id Software team that forced this poor OST and blamed Mick. Now let's turn our attention to Bethesda's official response that they posted last night. This is the legendary Double Down. The recent post by Mick Gordon both mischaracterized and misrepresented the team at id Software, the development of Doom Eternal, and Marty Stratton and Chad Mossholder with a one-sided and unjust account of irreparable professional relationship. We are aware of all the details and history in this matter and unequivocally support Marty, Chad, and the team at id Software. We reject the distortion of the truth and selective presentation of incomplete facts, in quotation mark, which I find very humorous because facts in quotation marks when talking about actual receipts, legitimate evidence, and they're putting facts in quotation marks. We stand ready with full and complete documented evidence to disclose in an appropriate venue as needed. The statements posted online have incited harassment and threats of violence against Marty, Chad, and the id Software team. Any threats or harassment directed towards members of our teams will be met with swift and appropriate action to protect their health and safety. We remain incredibly proud of id's previous collaborations with Mick Gordon and ask that fans refrain from reaching conclusions based on his account and, more importantly, from attacking any of the individuals mentioned on either side, including Marty, Chad, or Mick. This whole statement, I think, is an absolute toilet paper roll, because you didn't release a statement when Marty went rogue, off book, off script, fucking full-blown James Bond off the grid, and released his Reddit post shitting on Mick. Where were you condemning that? That was a one-sided account of this situation from Marty, and it shit all over Mick's reputation for 2 years, and incited harassment against Mick, and it also irreparably damaged his reputation for 2 years, probably even prevented him from getting some work, I would imagine, because people would read that and be like, well, Mick sounds hard to work with and he won't reach the deadlines, because everyone believed Marty because his word meant something. They assumed he was telling the truth. Where was the Bethesda official statement then? Marty didn't even drop any level of facts. He just dropped the fan fiction out there. He had no evidence in his post to begin with. And Mick Gordon even made sure to let fans know that he doesn't want this to lead to harassment or anything like that against anyone involved in the team, and even highlighted how there were so many talented people at id Software that he really appreciated and how great it was overall with id Software. Just wanted to highlight these specific problems, which was a luxury Marty didn't afford Mick. Marty at no point made it seem like he didn't want Mick to take the full brunt of the impact from the fans' upset anger. At least Mick went there with class. Now it's a problem, and now you condemn it, and I'm very curious to see what full documented evidence you have. If you do have those kind of receipts, why didn't you lead with that? Why lead with this wet noodle? Why come out here with a threat first instead of just, here's our evidence? I always hate this move where it's, no, we have the full story, and we will release it eventually. Just fucking start with it if you have it, coward. Christ. Maybe they do have something that somehow disproves Mick. I would be shocked. I don't even really know what that magic bullet would look like here. I guess maybe contracts that would poke holes into the timeline or some of the claims Mick would make. I'm really not sure. But if they do have that evidence, I really don't understand why they wouldn't start with that as opposed to just putting out this statement saying that they have evidence. Like, I know a lot of people are saying it's an intimidation tactic, but intimidating him to do what? Mick has already dropped his 14,000 word massive report on all of this. What's there to intimidate? He's already dropped the bomb. So why even try and scare him anymore? Like, if you have the evidence, there really was no reason to start with something like this. You could have just immediately went into, here's our proof of our side, and this is what's wrong about his statement. There was just no reason for this. This is just absolute nothingness. And I do want to highlight something in particular where they say that Mick's statement has now led to threats of violence and harassment against Marty and Chad and those involved. I hate that. Unfortunately, that's just a byproduct of assholes on the internet. Mick Gordon tried to handle this as professionally as possible, was beyond generous and patient with this whole team, and eventually, when he found himself out of options, released this publicly. Marty did this as a first resort and led that harassment against Mick. And for some reason, they're especially highlighting it on Mick Gordon for some reason, even though Mick made a very special effort to let people know that it's not okay to do those things. But there's always going to be douchebags online, and it happens, unfortunately. But for them to come out in their official statement and say that because of Mick, now their lives and their safety is in jeopardy, I think is just fucked up. Trying to villainize the victim here for coming forward by using some assholes leaving mean tweets to them as like proof that, oh my god, now everyone's in trouble, like all of their safety is compromised. I don't like that. I'm not a fan of that. But yeah, anyway, I just wanted to talk about this a little bit. I'm excited to see what happens next if they really do have evidence. I'm curious to see what it is. But for now, I am definitely on Mick Gordon's side here. I've never seen a response that professional and that thorough. So yeah, that's about it. See ya. Do you believe the Costco guys were disrespected by Jimmy Fallon? 2024 is a crazy year that sentence actually means something. There is a video breakdown on how they were disrespected. What does that mean? Costco guys, Jimmy Fallon body language analysis. Heavens to Betsy. Why? Is this where they explain how they were disrespected? Oh, it's become like a whole meme. I see. Okay. Is it this? Body language analysis, the Rizzler and Costco guys on the Tonight Show? And he's got like the green lines, what were they? The alpha lines? They're beta lines. They were beta lines, I think. I can't remember.
Welcome to the Tonight Show. Thank you so much for being here. You guys have taken over the internet, and now you've...
Notice how Jimmy stutters numerous times in his opening monologue. This is a sign of intimidation, as well as a sign of submittance to more powerful males who are higher up on the social pecking order than him.
That's... I already love the concept. Chef Bojack crushed it. Alright, that's good. I thought it was like a real thing. I thought they brought on like a body language expert to see like what the Rizzler was feeling in the presence of Jimmy Fallon. The raw clip is somehow worse. Well, you keep talking about the raw clip. What happened? Did the Rizzler sculpt Jimmy Fallon? Like what are you talking about? What is going on? What is this raw clip? He interrupted their booms. Oh. Wait, that's serious.
We film recording a hamburger, we give it a big boom. The video blows up, it gets to 100,000 views. I said, that's it. This is now a father-son channel. Let's bring the boom.
Yeah, this is it. Now this is going to be what we do now.
Notice the Rizzler's facial expression at the end of the exchange. Rizzler is clearly bored of the conversation. However, as a strong leader should, he will let those below him do all the talking for him, allowing his words to hold more power when he finally does decide to open his mouth.
I feel so bad for that kid, actually. Like, right now he's a superstar, but you give this, like, 10 years, and he's gonna be like the You're Breathtaking guy, I think. Where he just won't let it go, and it just controls the rest of his fucking life. Hopefully not, though. Hopefully, AJ doesn't let him go down that road. AJ isn't his dad. What? Wait, what? Wait. Who the fuck is this then? He's not his son? It's his friend's kid. The Rizzler is AJ's father. Ah, yeah, now it's starting to add up. So where is the Rizzler's dad? Why isn't he a character in the AJ Big Justice cinematic universe? They're not friends. They literally just met at Costco. I need to take a fucking lore dive into here for a second. What do you mean? You're telling me AJ just found this kid at Costco and put him in the video? And called him the Rizzler? There's no way. I'm just gonna type in, who is the Rizzler? A 7-year-old from New Jersey. No, this can't be right, because it says things popped off when his dad captured a video of Christian. That's the Rizzler's real name. Well, that's his the government name. His real name is the Rizzler. Essentially getting the zoomies in a Black Panther costume. What? How did AJ meet Rizzler? I can't believe I'm even Googling shit like this. This is so embarrassing. Go to Boomkipedia. Christian has a trademarked recipe for Riz face, as putting one eyebrow down and raising the other eyebrow up and sucking in like this, aka mewing. Someone wrote this. Someone actually wrote this. Oh, here we go. Is the Rizzler related to Big Justice and AJ Befumo? The Rizzler is friends, not brothers, with another kid, Eric Befumo, whose social media persona is Big Justice. Big Justice posts content with his father, AJ, an amateur wrestler who was already giving social media a go when his son asked to get into the fun on TikTok. Family food reviews took off so much the father-son duo became known as the Costco guys, who give explosive ratings of Costco items. Yeah, and then the boom meter. So the Rizzler is friends with Big Justice. They didn't just randomly meet at a Costco.
Right?
Yeah.
So I said, well, we came up with the boom meter, because people rate stuff 1 to 10.
Yeah.
So we said it goes from 1 to 5 booms. So we could be real. If it's good, it gets 4 booms. Okay, 2 booms. Bad, 1 boom. Amazing, 5 big booms.
Okay.
Boom.
Okay. Yeah, boom. we have 5 booms. Yeah, okay.
Jesus, Jimmy. Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Weasel he is, Jimmy passive-aggressively rains on the parade of 2 people having more fun than him. Jimmy resents the Costco guys for having more average viewers than his network television show. And he shows this by his constant attempts of little jabs along with his annoyed body language.
This is actually probably the most annoyed I've ever seen Jimmy Fallon. Usually he's putting on like the fakest smile of all time and he's become known for the desk slapping. And he is not doing any of this so far. Maybe they're right. Maybe he was disrespecting the Costco guys. And more importantly, the Rizzler. He's lucky he made it out of that interview with his life. He talks about how they met on FaZe Rug's podcast. Holy fuck. Why do I have to go to so many different places to put together the lore here? This is like fucking Horus Heresy, but for TikTokers. So where? On FaZe Rug's podcast, they told the story of the genesis of Rizzler. Rizzler basically got famous with that Black Panther video, and AJ reached out to meet up, that's all. AJ the dad. The dad reached out to the family. That makes so much more sense than AJ just DMing a 7-year-old saying, cool video, you want to head to Costco?
I saw a video of him, and I was like, Daddy, I want to meet this kid. And they were like, I love you guys. We've been watching you.
What?
So
That was a crazy laugh.
I reached out to the video because the minute Big Justice brought me the Rizzler, I said, all right, I gotta get you guys on the same
He was
screen.
like,
I don't care
just
what it
because
takes.
I'm Black Panther doesn't mean I have to go up a ladder.
So reach out.
I really think AJ looks like Papa John if he took a different path in life. Like, I feel like they were crafted from the same mold, and Papa John went pizza, and he went double chunk chocolate chip. And now they both have their own little branches of success. There's probably more like him, too. We haven't discovered them yet. They're like Primarchs. Keep making Warhammer references. So that's pretty simple, I guess. So Big Justice just liked that Black Panther video that we just learned about, and then had AJ reach out to the family, and then they hung out. Alright, so that's not like the craziest lore ever. And then the other disrespect was 10:30, you said?
And this is the boom meter. Jimmy's gonna try the double chunk chocolate cookie.
Fallon is laughing here out of pure fear as they surround him. You can tell the pressure of the moment's really starting to get to him, and you can see
it's like a hostage.
Minorly hyperventilate. They also say that imitation's the greatest form of fattery, and Fallon's trying to imitate the Rizzler here by doing a mini Riz face to try to be cool, calm, and collected, just like him.
Chocolate cookie, get on the boom meter.
The double chunk dog cookie gets 5 big booms! Boom! 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 AJ! Big Justice! The Rizzler, everybody! We'll be right back with more Tonight Show. Stick around!
By ending the segment this early, Fallon basically taps out and admits he's not man enough to spend any more time with the likes of the Rizzler, AJ, and Big Justice.
That was the impression I got as well. Wow, that was fucking terrible to sit through watching Jimmy do that. See, there's an art form to it. When the Costco guys do it, it's cool. When Jimmy does it, it hurts. So, why isn't the Rizzler's dad part of this? That still hasn't been answered. If there's any Costco guy lore experts, does his dad not want any of it? Or is his dad just happy letting AJ raise his kid and overfeed him? His son took all of his aura. You go to the Rizzler's house and his dad is shriveled up like a raisin. And the Rizzler just sapping it all. Yesterday, H3H3 Productions revealed something he's been working on for a long time now in secret, like the fucking Manhattan Project of YouTube drama exposed videos. He released the content nuke on Keemstar. It's 46 minutes of high-octane, full-throttle, nuts-to-butts drama action, and I'll say it's one of the only 40-plus minute exposed videos I was able to watch start to finish without falling asleep. However, it is still just a lot of things that have been covered for years. Everything Ethan talks about is shit people have shit on Keemstar for years, so there's no new information in the video. It's kind of just like an anime lore explanation video for this anime character of Keemstar, like an episode recap. Here's what happened previously on Keemstar being an asshole. Ethan's basically just compiled all the big Keemstar douchebag moments and put them into this video compendium. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm sure there's a lot of people that weren't familiar with some of the shit he's done in his past, and Ethan just brought it to their attention. It's just for me personally, since I love to keep up with internet drama and squabbles between internet people, I would have liked to see something new from Ethan. Like maybe Ethan finds a director's cut of Cats that has Keemstar acting in it, and then he exposes Keemstar for being a bad actor and having poor taste in picking the movies he's in. But again, there's nothing wrong with it still just being things that have been covered in the past. The reason I'm even talking about it right now isn't so much because I care about Ethan and Keemstar having internet beef. It's actually what I think Ethan did that I think sets a terrible precedent for the entire platform going forward and could lead to a disastrous future. In Ethan's content nuke, he mentions Keemstar's sponsor G Fuel 8 times, constantly saying things like, "Why is G Fuel sponsoring you? They shouldn't be sponsoring you. This is kind of fucked up that you still have sponsors. How is this possible?" Just implying that he needs to lose his sponsorship with G Fuel, you know? So by implying these things, Ethan ignited his fan base to spam G Fuel, forcing them to drop Keemstar, which happened. G Fuel did drop Keemstar, and people went wild in celebration. It was like the end of Star Wars Phantom Menace. They had like this huge fucking parade, medals were given out because they defeated Keemstar, at least financially. They got rid of his biggest sponsor that he's had for many years. And a lot of people say, you know what, yeah, it is a slimy tactic, because it is. Going after someone's sponsors and employment, that is such a fucked up, low tactic. That's shit you see those Karen, middle-aged Karens on Twitter doing when they have an argument with someone where they start contacting the employer of the person they're arguing with, trying to get them fired. It's the same tactic that Ethan and his fan base have done to Keemstar. And a lot of people say, yeah, it is kind of fucked up, but it's Keemstar, so we're fine with it. And you shouldn't be. Yeah, Keemstar's done a ton of fucked up shit that definitely deserves consequences, but taking it into your hands as like the arbiter of justice to spam his advertisers to get him to drop him, you don't see how that could be used against you? It's like the same thing for people who are constantly begging for the government to censor the internet because there's things they don't like on it. It's a very slippery slope that can get out of control very quickly. So sticking with Keemstar losing G Fuel. Well, him losing G Fuel wasn't enough for the bloodlust of the fan base. Now on the subreddit, they're taking action against Spotify because Keemstar is on Spotify, so now they're lobbying and spamming Spotify to drop Keemstar, another one of his big advertisers. So you see what's happening, right? What Ethan has done is he's given power to the fan base to ruin anyone's career. And what this does is that tells everyone else on YouTube with a following they can do the same thing because these advertisers are going to cave to pressure. It's very similar to the most recent YouTube adpocalypse where Matt got a bunch of people together to contact advertisers on YouTube and telling them to drop, which they eventually did, and that fucked a ton of YouTubers and destroyed a lot of YouTube careers. It's the same thing, but now done on an individual level we haven't seen before. Let me tell you exactly how this could go. What Keemstar could do, Keemstar could ignite his fan base to spam Ethan's advertisers with Gokanaru's video, The Death of H3H3. In this video, YouTuber Gokanaru does a ton of research and has a very long and thorough video that paints Ethan in the worst light possible. He has a bunch of clips where Ethan's casually saying the N-word, saying some other heinous shit, and doing some things that advertisers might not like. If Keemstar gets his fan base to spam Ethan's advertisers with that, and the pressure's enough, they could drop Ethan. Same way G Fuel just did to Keemstar, the same tactic. What Ethan's done is he's opened up this extremely dangerous can of worms. Now, I'm not here defending Keemstar. I'm not trying to white knight him and be his chat mod, deleting mean messages and licking the piss off of his toilet seat. And I hate that I even have to clarify that. I think it's pretty clear that I'm not defending Keemstar, but the internet's already going in this way where if you don't agree with everything Ethan did in his video, all of his methods, then you're just defending Keemstar and you're a bad person. I'm saying what's happened to him and what Ethan has started is extremely bad for anyone on the internet. I'll use something from Ethan's video for an example. In Ethan's video, he talked about the time Keemstar falsely accused a RuneScape streamer named Tony of being a pedophile. Well, let's say Keemstar never made that mistake back then. Let's say he made that mistake tomorrow. Tomorrow, Keemstar says, this RuneScape streamer named Tony is a pedophile. And then people hear that, and now with what Ethan has shown them, they say, well, that's fucked up. It's time for justice. So they start reporting that that Tony is a pedophile to Twitch, to RuneScape, and to Tony's advertisers and spam the shit out of him until all three drop him, and now Tony has lost everything even though he's done nothing wrong, just because Keemstar made a mistake and his fan base went behind it and started spamming. That's what Ethan has set in motion. Whether the information is right or wrong, whether the person deserves it or not, most people seem to agree that Keemstar deserved it, but this can absolutely happen to someone that truly doesn't deserve it by any possible measure. Ethan's like the Prometheus who brought fire to YouTube comments. He's shown that if you just weaponize YouTube commenters and get them to rally together and spam these advertisers, they will cave to pressure. Giving that much power to a mob mentality and cancel culture is super dangerous, especially on a platform like YouTube, where a lot of people invest their entire lives into a YouTuber. Like, they make their personal identity just being a super fan of a YouTuber, so when that YouTuber is being attacked or engaging in internet squabbles with another YouTuber, now these people can actually do something super harmful to the other side that they might not deserve, making them lose sponsors. And a lot of YouTubers rely on sponsors because the YouTube ad revenue is super all over the place for a lot of people. You can get 1 million views and get 71 cents. So these people do rely on sponsors for their livelihood, and now what Ethan has shown is that you can fuck that as long as you just have enough people doing it for you. Which, I'm super surprised he even did this tactic. Ethan's always been someone that's championed against the kind of cancel culture dogpiling shit, but I guess for Keemstar he's decided to make an exception and open Pandora's box. It's silly to think that this is going to be isolated to just Keemstar. That's not how the internet works. If it can happen to one person, it can happen to everyone. There's no world where the internet only uses this weapon one time and against one person. This hopefully won't be commonplace, but now that it's been shown to be effective, I can absolutely see a lot of people on YouTube using this against people they don't like, and that's the worst part. Keep in mind, these companies, they're not the moral police. They're not the fucking hall monitors in the school lobbies making sure people aren't running in the halls or chewing gum. These people don't give a fuck. What they care about is if having that person on their roster as endorsed by that company is hurting their image. And if enough people are telling them this is hurting your image, they're just going to drop them. They're not going to do any research. You can take anything out of context, spin any narrative you want, even without evidence, and get people dropped. It's happened before, just not on like a YouTuber personal level. And your own subreddit's already starting to go down that path. They've already got the big justice boner for fucking Keemstar, so now they've gone to his other advertisers like Spotify. They're trying to deplatform him from Spotify and a lot of other things. Now, how far does that go? Will they now start trying to deplatform and force sponsors out of deals with the people on Twitter that were defending Keemstar? And not even defending Keemstar, just people saying Ethan may have went a little far targeting advertisers. Well, this group that's now going after Spotify and the one that attacked G Fuel, well, they could do that to the people that are now trying to spin Ethan as some kind of bad guy for this. It's just, you can see how it's already starting to snowball into something that could be bad for everyone on the platform. But yeah, overall, the video was entertaining. It served the purpose that Ethan wanted it to serve, but I couldn't help but have this sour taste of ass in my mouth when he kept bringing up the sponsors, clearly making it a point to attack the sponsors without him recognizing the far-reaching consequences that kind of tactic can have, not just to Keemstar, but to innocent people on the platform, and could happen to Ethan as well. It's just something that could absolutely backfire on everyone. It's just a double-edged dildo that is gonna fuck everyone if this becomes a mainstream approach to things. But who knows, maybe I'm wrong, and maybe this is a totally one-time thing, but knowing the internet, I just don't see that being the case. So that's all I wanted to talk about, and yeah, that's about it. So yeah. They say the human mind is like a sponge, constantly absorbing new information. Well, I'm about to blow a load of knowledge right into your fucking brain right now. If you're unaware, and you shouldn't be, there's trouble brewing on the game Rust. There's a whole load of drama going on there. It's absolute chaos and pandemonium. Bodies on the street, tears on the keyboard. It is absolutely hectic. And I'm going to go ahead and bring you all up to speed on the lore, why an older game like Rust has all of a sudden exploded. Just take you by the hand and walk you through everything going on right now, because it's drama I want to talk about, because I've been hard addicted to Rust over the last week or so. It's been hitting me harder than heroin. Like, this shit is pretty wild. I absolutely have been loving Rust. And it's pretty sad to see a lot of the drama that's been going on, so I figured I'd at least talk about it since it's been kind of a big debate. So let's start at the beginning. Rust is an older survival game where anything's possible. You're limited only by your imagination and a million other things. But for the most part, you can do a lot of really cool shit in Rust. Rust initially released as early access 7 years ago and then fully released 2 years ago, and there's been a big community around the game, especially on YouTube, a lot of Rust content creators, and it's not like it was an obscure game. Most people had heard of Rust before, but it recently blew up in popularity, going from like 1,000 or 2,000 viewers a day on Twitch to over 1 million a day on Twitch. And it's all thanks to Abe and Offline TV. Abe being the mastermind, the puppet master, aka the blood god. Abe and Offline TV set up a private server where they invited a bunch of their friends, a bunch of streamers to play on, hang out, roleplay, PvP, and just make fun content in the Rust universe. And it was fucking amazing stuff. I was lucky enough to be invited to the server. I got to join Team Rocket and share in that kind of shit. We were like Scooby-Doo villains there, creating great story arcs and great moments, raiding the police station set up by other players. Just really fun shit. But even just the creation of the server wasn't without drama. For some reason, there's like this community of Rust cultists, these Puritans that think there's only one way of playing Rust, which is on public servers, which are notorious for being racist, toxic, and absolutely brutal and no fun to play on. And people just saying like, oh, look at these fucking pussies not even playing real Rust. I still remember the first time I was crying over my keyboard playing Rust. These guys haven't even started the journey into being a real Rust player. And as I've said before, I think there's nothing more sad than these lunch table outcasts that think that their obscure game is only theirs to enjoy and you can only enjoy it in the way that they like to play it. I think that shit is really fucking sad. So you had a whole ton of people melting down about this server even being started in the first place, like, why are these fake Rust players, you know, trying to play the game this way and hijack our game? They're misleading their viewers into thinking this is what Rust is like. Oh, it's so disgusting. For the first couple days I was on this server, there was a few people in chat just fucking melting down about me not playing Rust the right way because I was using push to talk to like joke around with friends and roleplay and shit. And not like lame roleplay. I roleplay as a waste management service worker, the king of trash, the trash god. So, like actual cool roleplay. And people were still melting down like, oh, you're supposed to use voice chat for insults and racist slurs. What the fuck are you doing? This is not how Rust is supposed to be played. This is painful to watch. What the fuck is this? Like, it's so pathetic. Even just making the server was controversial. I don't understand this mentality. Now, granted, it's not like the actual Rust pros, like the Rust content creators that shared this mentality. A lot of the Rust content creators are in the server and having a lot of fun. It was just like pretty much exclusive to Rust professional spectators or people that have like 200 hours in the game all spent hitting a tree in a public server and dying repeatedly as a naked person on a beach that think everyone has to have that same experience with Rust. It's just sad shit. They're like Pain from Naruto. They've experienced so much pain that they just want to distribute it to everyone else in their fucking game. Sad. Really garbage shit. But the actual drama started pretty recently, so as the server began to expand and really blow up on Twitch, invites became more frequent and more people were being added to the server. As the floodgates were opening and the legs were spreading wider and wider until the vagina was fully agape, inviting every player that even had an interest in Rust into it, a lot of problems began to arise. Now, that's not to say that the server was without drama before a lot of people came in, because even in the first couple of days, there was trivial drama and shouting matches in-game where, you know, some people were joking, some people weren't. XQC would get mad, or at least he'd seem mad, and people would get upset at that, and, you know, there was definitely some drama, but it didn't really start to blow up until a lot more people came in. And that brings us to today, where Charlie sits semi-chubbed in his chair talking to you about Rust drama. In response to so many people going to the PvP server and so much going on, Abe created a second server more focused on RP, but still mainly PvP. It's 70% PvP, 30% RP. On that server, that's where I have my waste management empire where I run around collecting trash with a garbage truck. And on the other server is where I live my double life as a Team Rocket assassin. So there's a purpose for both servers, but the second one is much more exclusive and more focused on just making some enjoyable, goofy content. And the first one's that more cutthroat, coming for scalps, blood, sweat, tears, cum, titties, flying all over the place, gore, and hurt feelings everywhere. And in that server is where the drama begins, the genesis of all Rust drama. With a lot of big egos clashing in this Thunderdome, there was bound to be a catastrophic explosion of drama. So what really set it off is a couple of Rust veterans camping in bushes and killing people on site, just mindlessly murdering people in the streets without any attempt to communicate or make fun content out of it. they would just sit in the bush and kill people, hoping to make them mad, which would then be used for their YouTube video views. At least that's the narrative that's been going on. I wasn't in the server during that time. I was busy doing the actual important shit, collecting waste and human fecal matter on the other server, so I didn't see that firsthand. I've only seen the clips in some of the VODs. But these two events, it's like the assassination of Franz Ferdinand, these two events led to a whole fucking war on Twitter, on Twitch, on live stream fails about whether or not these Rust veterans, did anything wrong. Because to the Rust professional viewers, that's just how they've always experienced the game. So to them, there was absolutely nothing wrong with just sitting in a bush for fucking 30 minutes, waiting for someone to ride by on a horse and just shooting them on sight and then looting them. That's normal to them. But to a new player that had no chance of fighting back and who doesn't even have that experience in the game, that's just fucking not fun. Like, that's just absolute dog shit. There's no fun to be had there. So it's been a huge debate, like, why are they getting punished? Why are people mad? It's just Rust. Learn how to play Rust, you pussies. And there's two sides to this argument, but there's a wrong side and a right side. The wrong side is the one that says they did nothing wrong. Like, when you go into the server, it literally just says, please just don't mindlessly kill people. Like, when XQC and Team Rocket would roll into a place, there was a whole storyline built up for it. There was a reason for it. When they made a kill, there was at least jokes exchanged, and by the end of it, most people were laughing. Of course, there were times that they weren't, but for the most part, when there were kills made, it was part of, like, this storyline. Oh, Team Rocket's rolling in, tumbleweeds rolling across the city as people close their doors and lock their kids and wife in the basement to avoid the wrath of Team Rocket. Like, it was goofy, fun shit. They were a cartoonish villain organization. But then, over the last couple days, it's more like, oh, don't ride down that road because a Rust Pro might be waiting in a ghillie suit in one of the bushes to just shoot you on sight. Like, that's very different, and that's not fun. Again, the server was made to be more relaxed and focused on fun content in the game with an emphasis on PvPing, because in Rust, it's fun to PvP, and it's more fun when you're PvPing with a purpose as opposed to just going for, like, a KD ratio in a survival game. A lot of the people in the Rust community that are vehemently defending this have, like, no level of self-awareness or social skills to recognize that this is just not in the spirit of what the server was for. I mean, even the fucking creator of Rust made this sarcastic tweet poking fun at this mentality. Like, it's just not hard to grasp, but there's a huge difference between PvPing with, like, a goofy storyline and joking around, and just waiting to kill people on sight for their loot. Even on this tweet, there were so many Rust players that were like, finally, Gary's speaking up. Yeah, these pussies just don't get real Rust like we do. And even in the tweet, like, he couldn't have made it more on-the-nose sarcastic. They couldn't even recognize the most basic level of sarcasm there. It's just this inability to read the room from some people to be like, yeah, that's kind of douchey to just kill for their loot on brand new players or constantly murdering naked people, you know? Like, it doesn't take a whole lot to get that concept. Now, that's not for all of the Rust veterans in the PvP server. There's only a handful. Most of them are just super helpful making their own goofy shit. Like, I know, I think it's Ray. He started a hotel on the server. There's other players that started taxi services. So while it is a huge focus on PvP in that server, it's still mainly RP. Like, I visited an 18+ art gallery yesterday on that server. Like, it's still mainly RP with some PvP. So you really can't even use the argument that the server's meant to just be kill on sight PvP all the time, because the majority of it is just a lot of people messing around, role-playing, and having fun. So there's really no way of defending it. Now, in response to all this drama that was blowing up that I was just talking about, 2 players, I believe, were banned from the server, which is where most of this drama just stemmed from, everyone debating whether or not they deserve the ban or shit like that. But I think it's pretty clear, like, they were playing it very differently from everybody else in that server, and in clear violation of the rules Abe set out. Mainly, no mindless killing. So you can argue whether or not a ban was warranted as opposed to just asking them, hey, can you just fucking stop this shit? Like that, you know, maybe you can argue that, but you can't really defend the actions of it. If I was still on that server and I was the victim of that shit, I probably would have just stopped playing, to be honest. That doesn't sound very fun. I saw a couple clips where, like, a girl was just standing out in the open, and then a guy ran in on a horse and just shot her on sight and took her shit. Then she had to respawn on the other side of the map. And that was, like, after, what, like 5 hours of collecting shit? And she was there waiting to, like, talk and joke and just got blasted. Like, that's not fun. I'd probably just throw my arms up in the air and be like, well, I'll switch games. Yeah, so I do get it. It definitely seems like it was taking some of the fun out. And I just wanted to talk about it because I've been fucking loving Rust, and watching this drama kind of sucks because Abe doesn't deserve to have to deal with all that shit. Abe has done an incredible job with these servers and what he's done with Rust. It has been so fucking fun. And yeah, I just wanted to talk about it a little bit. That's about it. See ya.